we are probably 20 years behind Phoenix and Denver.
Excuse me?
And Salt Lake City.
Can you repeat that?
We're probably 20 years behind Phoenix because a lot of politicians like to talk a lot of different things, but then where's the action and outcome? It's because there are a few reasons beyond that. Number one, most politicians don't think. Number two, for a big infrastructure project like this, this city was not built by thinking small. City like Las Vegas, we're known for betting against the odds. We're known for building and dreaming.
I'm a lifelong resident here in Las Vegas. I built a Clark County, a Las Vegas Valley that is not only known for its tourist and world-class entertainment, but known as a city with high quality of life.
Time to move Vegas forward. Let's get to work.
Some people step into public conversations because they have strong opinions. Others do so because life has taught them that certain questions affect all of us: where we belong, what we preserve, and how we shape the future without losing what matters most. Today's guest is someone whose work and public voice often return to questions many people quietly carry. How do we grow without losing identity? How do we protect culture in a city that changes so quickly? And how do ordinary people believe their voice still matters in decisions that affect everyday life? From education to civic engagement, Minja Yan has consistently spoken about history, belonging, and thoughtful progress. But beyond public ideas, today's conversation is also about the person behind the voice. What shaped her perspective, what experiences taught her courage, and what she believes people often overlook when thinking about community, leadership, and change. Welcome to Courageously Speaking, Minja.
Thank you so much for having me.
So very excited because we're having a co-host today, Rhea.
Hi everyone, my name is Andrea Navarro, but I usually go by Rhea. How is everyone doing?
Good.
We're doing well. So Minja everywhere. Minja is in LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, all the events. Sometimes I see you in a cafe randomly. I know a lot about your public voice, but I'm nosy about your personal story. So
Sure.
Is that okay?
Yes.
So
yes.
let's talk about who you are, where you came
Yes.
from, and things like that.
Yes, thank you so much for having me to the show. My name is Minja, like ninja with an M. I grew up in Las Vegas, and I grew up in the southwest part of the Las Vegas Valley. I was born in China, in a city called Guangzhou. So I can
Guangzhou.
speak both Cantonese and Mandarin.
Really?
Yes, and in the southwest part of the Las Vegas Valley, it used to be a very rural area part of town. They didn't have a lot of developments, and it was the newer part of town. Even until today, it's one of the fastest growing area of the Las Vegas Valley. So I went to UNLV for my undergraduate school. I went to Lee Business School, which eventually, when I became the adjunct professor, I went back to UNLV and taught at the Lee Business School for 2 spring semesters, so that the whole thing became a full circle. So I went to New York for grad school, and then I decided to come back to Las Vegas because, you know, the day after my final exam, when I was in New York City, I looked around all of these high-rise buildings, and I say to myself, New York doesn't need me. I want to go back to Vegas to develop and help contribute to a city that I call home. And it's also because I grew up in Vegas. I am a desert person. New York is too cold for me. So I moved back to the Las Vegas Valley, and I work in commercial real estate. So maybe that's the reason why you have been seeing me at a lot of the business related events, because in this industry we have to go to a lot of the business networking or join certain associations to develop our relationships. And also I've been involved in local government policies on housing, transportation, urban planning, responsible growth. So I do have to establish a lot of the relationships with public sector professionals, such as urban planners, and also some of the private sector professionals like architects, engineers, real estate professionals. So because of the industry that I'm in, I need to be able to establish and develop a huge network of people that I need to know. And then 2 years ago, I was part of a consulting team who worked on the Chinatown redevelopment project, and that is when I started to get more involved in the AAPI community, and I think that's how I met. Yes, that's how I met you. Yep, that's how we met. And then because the AAPI community here is very big, so are a lot of different events and associations that I started to attend and participate in, and maybe that's the reason why you've been seeing me
You're
everywhere.
always around.
Yeah, I'm
know?
always around. I'm always out and about.
Yeah, you have so much energy, and is that a New York thing that people are like? You have so much energy.
I think it's a natural thing that comes with me, and also I think it's also because I was born in an urban city in China, and also it's probably because I lived in New York before, and I really like that urban city, fast-paced, business-driven, focused environment, and to get things done.
Yeah, and you said earlier, like Nevada or Las Vegas needs me. The thing is, or like, needs me more, kind of like that.
I don't know whether I want to say Vegas needs me,
Okay.
but I want to just to try to do something to contribute to the place that I grew up in.
Even though we're a little bit last in many areas, you're okay with that?
Yes, because
Why?
I think what makes Vegas special is the people, the locals in our community, and the type of relationship that you can build and foster in this community is very strong, and we're very connected. We're like 1 or 2 degrees away from anybody that you would like to get in touch with here in the Las Vegas community, and there are a lot of people in our community that have a heart and passion to give back, to continue to support not just our current residents, but also the next generation. There are a lot of people very passionate about supporting youth and education.
Yes.
And because I'm part of that UNLV alumni ecosystem, I also have that mentality of how can I continue supporting these students. And that's one of the main reasons why when I decided to become an adjunct professor at UNLV, it was that mentality that, I'm from this community, so I want to make sure that I contribute back and give back to this community. That's the main reason why I decided to not stay in New York and came back to Las Vegas.
And I love the fact that you just mentioned how the strength of our city or even our state is the people, because as for me, as fellow educator, go Rebels, it's hard to see certain numbers float around and say we're number 51 in mental health care access, number 47 in education. It's pretty hard to swallow that. But when you wake up and meet people, they're pretty awesome.
And they're willing to bond together and focus on what can we do to make our city better.
And together.
Okay. Yes, that bonding network is what I really love about our Las Vegas community. If you go to like a much bigger metropolitan cities or in some other part of the country or around the world, I don't know whether we can find that local bonding that resonates with all the locals. And I think Las Vegas just has that unique something. It's in the Vegas locals that
We just glue together.
we just bond
You know what I'm
together,
saying?
And I think it's because we were a much smaller city back then.
Yeah.
So we still have a lot of contacts that we know in our network that have been here for a really long time. And now that we're growing to a real metropolitan city, we're facing some of the challenges, just like
Growing
other big
pains.
cities, growing pains, just like other big cities are saying, whether it's the housing cost or the traffic congestion. We have to continue improving our education. So all of these topics, I feel like my generation are willing to step up and to do something to make sure that we will continue to improve the community that we are from.
Yes, yeah, I believe that. And again, I wanted to go back to, like you said, that you came from China but grew up here,
Yes.
right? But in terms of values, being
Yes.
someone who grew up here but also have roots in another country like Asia, I'm sure some of our viewers identify as someone who came from another country, like an immigrant, right? So what part of your early life most shaped the values you return today, especially in terms of like cultural preservation and making sure that the minorities' voices are heard?
Yes. So being an immigrant in this country, obviously, we have to work hard, and also that is something that has been integrated in my family's family spirit, I would say. And also someone who really influenced my life is my grandmother, and she has been serving the community her whole life. And when I was a kid, she always been educating me about the importance of helping others. And when you help others, don't expect something will return. You have to have that mentality of just helping others without having the mindset of thinking, oh, would this person return me something one day? So she has a very good philosophy, spirit that has passed down from generation to generation, and I think she really shaped how who Minja is today. And you know, here in the US, I think there's a difference between individualism versus collectivism. And I think in the Asian culture, we have more of the collectivism, family value.
Interdependence, right?
Right, right. And then here in the US is a little different. So I think being someone who was born there but grew up here, being able to bridging or connecting the two differences and see how we can have a good balance, and also leverage my culture and what I learned from my grandmother and some of the other mentors I have in my life to be able to make me to become a better person by adapting the two cultures.
Wow.
So because that's how I can have a very well-rounded perspective and of who Minja is, because I do need to balance and adapt two cultures, and I cannot just say because I grew up here, so Vegas is the only thing I know, because I know that because of my roots and my family in China, I also learned from them as well. And there's a lot of things I learned in terms of history, or some of the, a lot of the Asian phrases of Chinese that you learn, and then you read some of their books or poetry, and you learn a lot from it.
Yeah.
So I think the capability of being able to read a different language, it also helps me to learn more through a different language under a different set of, whether it's books or information or materials that I'm able to access to.
They said, like, as someone who teaches ESL and second language acquisition, it's actually, there are a lot of studies that says that if you speak at least two languages, and if more, great, it's good for your critical thinking skills, right? And I love that you talked about not just like, oh, I'm going to assimilate. You talked about multiculturalism, which I think it's very important that we celebrate each other's differences and that we can work together. We have a common ground. We don't have to forget one culture over the other,
Right. Yes. And I think that pretty much sums up who Minja is.
Thank you for that.
No, I actually really love that, because you go back to your values with how being genuine is important, not to be transactional. And then you can't either be one extreme or the other. Collectivism and individualism, being balanced really helps push forward your message. I know, okay, we're going to put this all out in the open. Minja earned a spot on TEDx to talk about what she feels is important to her. And you speak about Chinatowns and the shrinking of it across the nation. However, when we look at Las Vegas, according to the recent reports, we're thriving economically. So can you elaborate what you're most concerned about with Chinatown and the decline of it, as well as this juxtaposition?
Yeah, so I did a TEDx talk at TEDxLas Vegas about saving historical Chinatowns across the country. So in that TEDx talk, I didn't go too much into the history of the Las Vegas Chinatown because we have different founding stories. So let me go back to what fostered me to do that TEDx speech is because when I was involved in the Chinatown redevelopment plan, I started to do a lot of research about all the Chinatowns across the country, and I also traveled to other cities' Chinatowns in Washington, D.C., in Seattle, in New York City, and in Chicago. So that's where I learned that a lot of the historical Chinatowns have been desizing, and some of them are gone already. So when I was doing my research, I found out that there was a Chinatown in Reno, in Nevada, and it got burned down in, I think, the 1910s or 1920s. So it doesn't exist anymore. So because of my research and my travel experience and talking to representatives from other Chinatowns across the country, that's what inspired me to submit my speech topic to TEDx, because I wanted to highlight the story of Chinatowns to a national stage like TEDx, to let more people to learn about the founding stories of Chinatowns. Is the story of America. It was the first generation of Chinese immigrants immigrated to the US because of the gold rush era in San Francisco. And that's why San Francisco's Chinatown is the largest and the oldest Chinatown in this country. And then after the gold rush period, a lot of these immigrants started to work on the transcontinental railroad across the country. And that's where we start to see other Chinatowns started to form in other cities like New York City across the country, because a lot of these construction workers wanted to live together, and they started small businesses together. They started to start families, you know. So these early historical Chinatowns we're talking about in the 1870s, 1880s. So it's about 150 years ago.
Yeah.
So the founding stories of many of the other historical Chinatowns, including the one in Washington, D.C. or New York City, have seen some challenges in terms of whether it was the gentrification that happened in some of these areas, or some of the small businesses left, or grocery stores left. And when you don't have a grocery store in a neighborhood, then the residents would tend to move to other areas that have access to grocery stores. So because of that 150 years of histories, and there's a lot more that goes into it, such as some of the other challenges, like a shift of demographic. The younger generations don't want to live in those historical Chinatowns anymore. They might want to live in a city, you know, because of their jobs. You know, they want somewhere that's more work, live, and play in downtown living environment. So the younger generation, they moved out, and maybe some of them moved to the suburb to start their own family. Yes. So there's a lot of different context in terms of preserving. How can we do a better job of preserving the historical Chinatowns in other cities? The Las Vegas Chinatown has a completely different founding story that makes us unique, and that's one of the main reasons why we are probably one of the very few Chinatowns that's growing. We founded because of tourism, which is very on brand with the Las Vegas city, right? So back in the mid-90s, Las Vegas was building a lot of big casinos on the Las Vegas Strip. We had a huge population boom in the 90s and tourism boom because of the developments of all these major casinos. So a developer came to Las Vegas, and he looked around and he asked himself, something is missing here in Las Vegas with all these tourists coming in. You have tourists from Asia, you have tourists from California, from all over the world. But something was missing in Las Vegas. You want to take a guess what was missing?
Chinatown.
Yeah.
Authentic Chinese food.
Oh, like dumplings and
Yes,
yeah.
because you have all these tourists from all over the world, including Asia, and you have a lot of Asian visitors from California, whether Asian Americans. But there was no authentic Chinese food here in Las Vegas in the mid-90s. We're talking about like 30 years
It's
ago.
always it always starts with food. That's what I've noticed. Well, Minja and I were very foodies.
Yeah.
It feels good, like
So-
we can connect.
Community.
So he found a piece of land on Spring Mountain and Wynn Road, not too far from the Strip. But remember, guys, back in the mid-90s, that location of where Chinatown Plaza stands today, back then there was not many developments nearby in that area. It used to be an industrial area. Wells Cargo owns a mine on Tenaya and Spring Mountain, and the Spring Mountain Road used to be a road
I remember that.
they
They-
transport
yes.
all the mines and
Yeah.
drive on
They still
I-15.
have it. When I was going to school, I remember having like it says Wells Cargo.
Yes.
Wow.
So that's why the Spring Mountain Road has a lot of warehouses and auto shops along both sides of the street. So this developer built and opened Chinatown Plaza around the 1996 period, 1995, 1996. And for those of us who love boba tea and who have been here for a really long time, the first boba tea store in Las Vegas, number one boba,
Number one boba.
opened inside Chinatown
Yeah,
Plaza.
inside like the
Yes.
shoppings. I had boba there and I loved it. And
Yes.
I didn't know they're the first.
Yes, they're the
Number one.
first one in Las Vegas.
That makes sense now.
Yeah, so because of food, because of tourism,
Yeah.
that's the founding story of our Las Vegas Chinatown. Chinatown Plaza opened, and it was very successful. Clark County designated that area, and there was the governor of Nevada at the time. It was back in 1998. He issued a proclamation and designated Spring Mountain Road from I-15 all the way to Ringville, like a 3-mile long street, as our Las Vegas Chinatown. So that's how we pretty much started, getting more businesses and more foot traffic into this area. And after, the surrounding property owners, they saw, oh, Chinatown Plaza is doing quite well. Maybe we should turn our warehouses into restaurants too.
Wow. So now
So-
we have a lot.
Yeah, now we have a lot, and that's another reason why we have a parking issue. Not only because we have more people coming in, but also because it used to be an industrial area. So a lot of the warehouses, they have very little parking spaces compared to the parking spaces that a restaurant needs, right? Because the foot traffic is just so much more for a restaurant, for a grocery store, right? So that's another reason why we have a parking shortage issue in the Las
Thank you
Vegas
for
Chinatown.
talking about, because us in Vegas, we don't like when we can't park. Either if we don't like it when we have to pay for parking, and number two, if we can't park anywhere and walk a few, like even 10 minutes to get to a restaurant. But we suffer for that because we love Chinese food, for example.
And now it has grown into beyond only Chinese food, and it has grown into a travel destination for tourists from all over the world. They come here because the branding of Chinatown is internationally recognized. You have there's Chinatowns in Japan, in Thailand, in Australia, all over Europe, in South America. So the branding of Chinatown is an international recognized brand. Now that it has become a branding that has another layer of meaning compared to what the historical Chinatowns that I talked about in TEDx, because the history of Chinatowns, it integrated with immigrant stories, with America's stories, with small businesses and entrepreneurship stories, with family stories. But now it has transformed into a branding that not only including these stories and meaning, but also it has attract tourists and from all over the world, because now they know that if you want to get authentic food, you go to Chinatown. If you want to do shoppings of small businesses. You go to that area, so now it has another layer of meaning to it. So it has become a international recognized brand that when we have the 45 or 43 million visitors who come to Las Vegas every year, and they go on Google Map, they type in what's good food in Vegas, they go do the Google search, then they will go to the Chinatown area.
Yep.
So that's the difference between our Chinatown and the other historical Chinatowns across the country. But we do have some of the challenges that we need to solve in our local Chinatown, such as the infrastructure issue. We have an outdated infrastructure with a lot of potholes on Spring Mountain, very
insane.
narrow sidewalk. The sidewalks are not even ADA compliant because we have the power poles in the middle of the street, the sidewalks. How can we fix and improve our infrastructure? How can we solve our parking and traffic congestion issue is by investing in public transit, whether it's a shuttle that connects to the strip, or whether I think it's time for Vegas to build a light rail.
Yes.
That's one of the biggest things.
And also maybe we also need to improve the walkability of this area. So let's say if you get your dumpling at Chinatown Plaza, but you want to get your boba tea across the street. Right now it's not walkable, and you don't feel safe walking on the street, so you want to drive your car even though it's just 1 block away.
I feel like I have to sacrifice my life just to get to my boba. You know, because I don't want to drive. It's like not like a good thing. Like now it's you have to park too.
Yeah,
and across there's no parking too.
Right. So that's why we need to add more crosswalks, and I know that the county just opened one between Chinatown Plaza and Shanghai Plaza. So I think slowly, I believe that we're going to see more improvements in that commercial corridor area. So improving walkability is also another way to reduce our traffic congestion problem. And for all of the locals that live here, we drive our cars everywhere, right? So we know that if I want to go to this plaza, and then after I finish shopping here, if I want to go to the one next door, I have to drive my car just to go to the next plaza because the plazas are not connected.
Yeah, and this is the thing. Like gasoline is very high right now, so you don't want to drive around so much. And also, when you shared shopping, right? A lot of people don't have jobs right now, right? Which brings us to a something about workforce pathways, right? I've heard that you're working on an initiative wherein you want to establish this between like the school district, right, as well as the local community college. And if that collaboration actually began tomorrow, I'm sure you all would want to hear this. What would be a crucial and feasible first step that can help people move into these high demand careers? It's not easy, especially in this job market.
Yeah, I know a lot of community leaders or elected officials, they like to talk about economic development. And right now we have entered into the phase where we have to talk about economic development and workforce development together. Because without the talent, you don't have the businesses. You have to have both, because good businesses look for good talent. So how do we bridge the gap between our students in high schools? Or maybe earlier, we have to start to inspire them and help them to explore different career paths even before high school. And how can we make sure that we create a career pathway to extend the opportunities for them to choose from? Because many of the kids that live in Vegas, I hear this from a lot of the young people, oh, we only have the hospitality industry. What else is out there? So I think for a lot of the community leaders and business leaders in this town, our job is to help our kids to explore different career paths and also build a diverse economy that can provide different job opportunities for our youth to choose from. And building a strong collaborative partnership program between CCSD and our employers is one way. One of the things I hear from I did a roundtable with educators in higher ed. They said a lot of the employers would want to see their applicants to have certifications.
Yeah.
But certifications are a little pricey, you know, especially if you don't have that financial background to really pay for a lot of these.
And even the financial aid
Yeah.
may not cover, because typically it has to be a
Exactly.
degree. And if it will be covered, currently the changes in the financial aid
Yeah.
landscape is not allowing that.
Correct. So, my vision, I would like to see our employers to come together and see how they can help the higher eds to cover some of the costs of these certifications, to help students to get these certifications, because employers are looking for talent, people who are ready to enter the workforce, and if they have the certification, that means they are more ready than the ones who don't have the certifications. So to save the employer's training time and cost, they can invest that cost earlier into providing certification programs and textbooks and whatever softwares that are needed for these students in higher ed.
Yeah,
So
I
that's one
love
thing
that.
I think I would like to see, whether it's the county or whether it's the Las Vegas Global Economic Alliance or some of the business chambers will be able to establish some of these programs. Another one is, I know a lot of the construction trades have their apprenticeship programs, and I just toured two of their training centers of two of the local construction trades, and one of them, they told me the sheet metal, local 88, they say they received about 800 to 1,000 applications a year from community college.
800 to 1,000, that's a lot.
From community college students who want to enter into this trade as their profession. And they have to do their interviews, they have to give out math tests, they have to do their testing in order to be accepted, to get accepted into this program. And they only take about 100 to 150 students a year.
Wow.
So there's a huge demand of students who are looking for job opportunities, and because these are good paying jobs, they have good benefits. So how can we create more projects and attract and retain businesses here to make them grow, to provide more job opportunities for these students that are looking to work? So I think it's a very holistic, comprehensive approach. You know, we have to talk about economic development and workforce development together. And a lot of these trainings that these trades provide, they're free.
I think that such a powerful initiative, but I think that it's just one. We need more.
Yep.
Even the Wynn Hotel actually had a program for cybersecurity with CSN. We
Yeah.
need more of that.
Yes. I know that a lot of the young people in this town want to see more emerging technologies or emerging businesses that have a huge demand or growing market and demand for talent, but then they're not currently established in the Las Vegas area yet. So one of the industry I started to learn more about is video game design and production. I recently met a company, because of my commercial real estate background. I met with them and they expanded their footprint of their office space from 20 employees now into a space that can accommodate 60 employees. And most of their employees are not college graduate. They got a certification and they specialized in whether it's graphic design or special effects or some kind of special niche that's needed in this industry. And they're all great paying jobs. And most of them are Gen Zs that want to take public transportation, you know, or they don't want to own a car. So,
Kind of like in San Francisco.
yeah.
Okay.
So, and then they say that there's more and more companies in their industries that are looking to relocate or expand to Las Vegas, the entertainment capital of the world, but they're not tied to like the casino industry. They're more on the entertainment, the video game, the trade show.
Multimedia.
Yeah,
events,
multimedia,
yeah.
like a
I
creative
Yes.
industry. So I think companies like that, I think how we should think about how we can incorporate them in our economic development plan, because we're no longer the only city that can gamble.
Yes. Yeah.
So
even Macau.
Yeah. So we have to think about what is Las Vegas 2.0, what is the next phase of the Las Vegas Valley. And also another emerging, growing industry that we really need to invest in more is healthcare. Where also Las Vegas is also known as the healthcare desert, you know. So we have been seeing a growth in jobs in this sector in the Las Vegas Valley in the past decade. But how can we double down, and how can we really to create more opportunities and workforce talent pipeline in this industry? And like the UNLV Kirk School of Medicine that just opened, I think 2 or 3 years ago. So we are slowly, you know, investing more. I know City of Las Vegas has their medical district that they have some developments going on over there. Intermountain Health announced their first standalone children's hospital in the Southwest on a piece of land that is owned by UNLV along 215 and Sunset area. So I think we will see more and more investments and job opportunities in the healthcare sector, which is a good thing for everyone that lives in the Las Vegas Valley. Another sector that I can think of would be, like you say, cybersecurity. It's
and AI too.
Yeah, there's a lot of technology companies out there that are always looking for good talent. I know Clark County did a master plan about 5 years ago to turn the UNLV Tech Park area into an innovation district. So it would be great to see the county commissioners have a good vision and political will and collaboration partnership from the private sector to come to really make that happen. A lot of it, when we talk about economic development, it's just we as Southern Nevada needs a unified vision. Where are we going in the next 20 years? Because the other cities like Phoenix, Salt Lake City, Denver, Seattle, Dallas, Austin, they kind of started to frame their identity, and they have better education, better healthcare, better public transportation. So a lot of the emerging industries or growing companies are looking into cities that have, I would call them a complete city system. Because if you look into a city, what do you look at for? Education, healthcare, transportation, housing, your natural resources, the jobs, quality of life. So there's a lot of different elements that connects to the economic development ecosystem. You know, when a company wants to move to Vegas, they don't just look at your tax incentives or your piece of land or your office building. They look at a lot of the other things, because the people that make decision of whether they relocate or expand to Las Vegas are people. They want to make sure that the families have a good quality of life.
And
they want
have
to make
needs.
they want to make sure the kids will move to a city that have good education. So at the end of the day, it's people want to move into a city that they want to live in.
So the live, play, work is happening here, but it's like currently we have to be unified. We have to have a vision together. One sector that work in a silo, it won't work because we are one city. We have to work together.
Yes, and that's why it's very important to have these collaborative conversation among, if you're a business leader, if you're a leader in the healthcare industry, you also need to talk to the leader in the housing industry. And you also need to talk to the leaders in the education industry.
Do we do that?
Because we are all interconnected. It's all about building a better Southern Nevada. And I think we will start to see that even more.
So we started doing that. It's just because I haven't heard much about
I think there's a lot of conferences and committees that have been having those conversations. But I think I would like to see the elected officials to really drive that vision. Like
That's what we're talking about. We need action.
Yes, we need someone to drive those visions and foster those conversations even bigger.
And translate those conversations, because we can talk all day. We can write reports, we can do research, but until that first step is done, and we don't move forward.
Because the outcome of a lot of those meetings depends on who you put in the meeting.
Gotcha.
So sometimes when we feel like there are certain topics, whether it's industry related or issue related, there's certain things. How come we're not moving forward with this agenda item or this meeting or this topic or this issue? It's because it depends on who you put in that room. And sometimes when we feel like we're being stagnant, that means it's time to shake the status quo. It's time to get some new blood, new energy, new ideas in that room, so you can drive that vision forward.
We need excitement in Vegas, girl.
Vegas has been an exciting city, and I completely agree with you that I think the past decade, besides the sports stadiums, what else that we can do, and what else that we can do can really improve the quality of life of local residents. Not only focusing on the strip and tourism corridor, because that's what we have been always focusing, and I understand that is like the main
bread and butter,
of our economy. I get it, but for the rest of the Las Vegas Valley, how can we drive that vision and that energy to the same level of what the tourism corridor gets to?
Yes.
We talked a little bit about your light rail solution,
yeah.
because one of the biggest pain points, I'm born and raised here, public transportation. Hate it. The traffic cone is our state flower. So what about the people who don't have a car, those who need to use public transportation? What can be done? And then with the light rail, I want to know, what's a realistic time frame for that, and how can you ensure that you can stay accountable for that and push it forward into reality?
Las Vegas is the only and the last metropolitan city in the Mountain West that does not have a mass public transportation. The current project we're doing on Maryland Parkway is the Bus Rapid Transit project. That's going to be our first one. It's under construction right now. We are probably 20 years behind Phoenix and Denver.
Excuse me?
And Salt Lake City.
Can you repeat that?
We're probably 20 years behind Phoenix, because Phoenix passed their
I'm hurt right now.
yeah, Phoenix passed their ballot question back in early 2000s from their voters to build a light rail, and right now they have 30 to 40 stations, and they're continuing to expand more. And so we're already behind Phoenix at least 20 years. And they're hotter than us. Phoenix has, everybody says Las Vegas is hot.
No,
Phoenix
I
is
live
hotter.
there. It's hotter.
Yeah. and then other cities like Salt Lake City, Denver, Dallas, Seattle, Portland, everywhere else has a much, much better public transportation system. And for someone like you who's born and raised here, Las Vegas is a world-class city. So we deserve a world-class transportation system.
And we deserve it yesterday, not today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we are 20 years behind. We can no longer afford to wait any longer. We cannot afford to wait any longer because of the opportunity cost of not having a robust transportation system. It's going to cost us even more later on, and the missing opportunities that we could have had if we had invested in a light rail 20 years ago, like Phoenix. Phoenix started to see more higher density development, mixed-use development along their transit line. It connects to ASU. Denver, they have great higher housing projects in terms of density that can accommodate their population growth. They are right next to the train stations, all the businesses that they're able to get, all of the young talent that want to move to a city with good public transportation. So the other city, go back to the point where I mentioned about complete cities, the other cities have that. So we are losing our economic competitiveness by not having that robust public transportation system. So The light rail, I'm envisioning we should do it in along like the 215 area in the southwest because it is one of the fastest growing area in the Las Vegas Valley, and also it is the area where Clark County Department of Aviation or UNLV or BLM owns some parcels in that part of town that are publicly owned under a government agency, so we can really use that, whether it's to build a train station or maybe build some higher density housing next to transit, or be able to collaborate with RTC to make it happen and connects to the airport, and also maybe where the Bright Line train is building their train station.
I was going to ask, what you were talking is like Bright Line. I saw some by Cactus in Las Vegas Boulevard.
Yeah, they're
is that
building
right?
their train station across the street from the South Outlet Mall. That's a big cross-state project.
Oh, so this is different.
Yeah, this is different.
Okay.
Theirs is like a high-speed train that goes to California. So
to LA.
Yeah,
right?
so I'm I think one of the city near LA, and then once you get off from that city, you take like the metro line into LA. But the light rail that I'm talking about is more for the Las Vegas local
For
residents.
us.
Yeah,
Yes.
we have to start somewhere, and then we can continue to expand throughout the valley, because just like how 215 was built. 215 is the only freeway in this country that was built and funded by local government, Clark County. It was a county commissioner named Bruce Woodbury who championed the development of 215, because back in 1993, in early 1990s, he had the foresight knowing that Las Vegas would continue to grow. We have to invest in transportation infrastructure. So the vision of 215 30 years ago made today's Las Vegas possible, because without 215 there's no Summerlin, there's no Green Valley, there's no Centennial Hill, there's no Aliante, there's no Southwest. Without 215 there's none of these things that can happen along 215.
So from what I'm hearing from you, it's actually a complex vision.
Yeah,
it's a complex project, but without doing that first step, just like what we talked about earlier, it's not possible. So so we're already 20 years behind Phoenix. What are we waiting for?
The first step is the political will. We need a strong vision at our elected officials, the leadership, and collaborative effort, working with everyone and people from the private sectors to make it happen. It's that vision that we need, and the capability to be able to communicate that vision to the stakeholders and the community. This is going to be a big project.
Yeah.
And this is something that we need. Like, we can no longer wait for another 20 years. We have a population growth that's continuing to happen. We're going to add 700,000 more people by probably 2050. We're going to hit 3 million people in population. We have a housing shortage. We need to build more housing.
Right?
We have limited water resource, even though we do recycle 99% of the indoor use water, but we also have the outdoor use water that we have to worry about. And also, we're in the middle of the negotiation among the lower basin states and the upper basin states along the Colorado River, so we don't have an outcome of that negotiation yet. So we have limited resources. And we have a traffic congestion problem that is getting worse every day as more people moving in. And if we don't start to invest in public transit, we're going to be worse than LA. We will have LA's traffic, but we won't have LA's healthcare, education, and economy.
And weather.
And weather.
That's like, I go there for that.
So that's why it is time, if 215 make today's Las Vegas possible, what is our vision for the next 30 years? And that vision starts now.
Yeah.
And that vision, that first step starts with our elected officials to make this happen. Because right now, and I'm going to give you a challenge because it's courageously speaking, you know. I like what I'm hearing from you. But we like what we hear from politicians, but sometimes it doesn't happen. Rhea asked about how feasible is this going to be, time frame. It's hard to say those things, but what and I'm going to tell like our viewers right now, many of you feel powerless watching decisions made by leaders and institutions while feeling they have little control over outcomes and even their own lives. So please, can you share a time when you felt powerless, how you responded, and one action you would suggest our viewers to take when they feel powerless? Because a lot of us do feel that way.
Yeah. I'm going to answer your question in a two-part answer. I'm going to answer first part of your question where you talk about how a lot of politicians like to talk a lot of different things, but then where's the action and outcome? It's because there are a few reasons beyond that. Number one, most politicians don't think long term. They only think about what's going to happen in the next 4 years.
Why is
not that? Because of the election cycle. They don't really think about what's going to happen in the next 20 or 30 years. So without that long-term thinking, you don't have a vision.
Makes sense.
You need that long-term thinking mindset in order to have that vision. And number two, for a big infrastructure project like this, it takes work. It takes effort. It takes countless meetings and building relationship and collaborations and bringing people together. So it's a lot more than just showing up for photo ops. It's a lot more than just, going to these meetings and what is the follow-up, what is the outcome of these meetings. So you need to have you need to be someone that's willing to put in the work and have that fire in you, because you have that vision, so you have that fire that will push forward and continue to move the needles and do baby steps, one step at a time, one step at a time. And that's how 215 was built. That's how the Hoover Dam was built. That's how the third water pipe in Lake Mead, that pipe is the only pipe that is working and pumping water out of Lake Mead right now. The first two pipes are too short because our water level has dropped so much. And it's all of those big projects. Behind all of those big projects, there was someone there that had the vision and the fire in them to push it forward.
And you need that vision and fire when you're against all odds, and some people don't want to change short term. And I feel like that's so much needed. And I'm gonna just share how, for me personally, I am very thankful to our new generation. I have Natalie over here who is helping us today behind the scenes. Rhea, who's Gen Z, right?
Yes.
A lot of Gen Zs draw flack regarding, they don't want to work, they don't want to do this, but dang, they have fire. And I'm telling you, I don't ask Rhea, hey, did you do this? She just did it already. It's like I'm sleeping and I see a text, I finished something. That's fire. They're not lazy.
No,
they're not motivated because a lot of us, older generation, we judge the youth, but what we're showing them is we say one thing, good things, like you said, we say flowery words, but we don't do any action. Or when we do action, it's negative. It's against what's good for the vision long term, because we are all about instant gratification, especially in Las Vegas. It's instant gratification city. I love Las Vegas, but there's a part of me that says we need that fire from our youth, and that our youth and our elected officials, our educators, our business, business people, the entrepreneurs, we all need together the different perspectives, because I feel like if we are only having or listening to the perspective of those who are already in power, it's not gonna be effective, because we need the perspective of the new blood. They're the future. We need to hear from the youth. What are we doing about that?
Well, I want to continue to answer your question before I get I have to get into the second part. I want to emphasize on the part that you mentioned. You need to have that fire in order to go against all of the odds that's going to be there. And I think for a city like Las Vegas, we're known for betting against the odds. We're known for building and dreaming big things. That's the real spirit of this city. And for people who are true locals that have been here for a really long time, we've seen the growth of this city. This city was not built by thinking small.
Wait, that's how we got the spear.
Yes.
The entire, whether it's from the Hoover Dam to Fremont Street to the Las Vegas Strip to those infrastructure projects for water conservation. We have the best water conservation system probably in the world. Like, this city was not built by thinking small.
And we also have a university that at one point and continue to be the most diverse campus in the nation, and that's UNLV.
Yeah. So how can people feel like they're being heard and being invited to participate in helping to shape a city and community that they love so much and care so much? And it's to start first by showing up. And that's how I started.
That's why you're everywhere.
In my civic engagement, community engagement, in addition to the community stuff that I've been doing, I started to get more involved in shaping policy because I pay attention to some of the bills that were happening during the Nevada legislative session last year. I pay attention to some of the committees or some of the meetings at the local government level, whether it's about housing or transportation policies or responsible growth policies. So I started to show up to those meetings, and I started to learn about how to participate. Before last year, I didn't know that you can testify to support or against a bill at the state level. I didn't even know how to track those bills before last year. So I spoke to my friend, because once you start to go to these meetings and events, you start to find your people, find your circle, and then they will teach you how to do things, how to find out about these information. So I traveled to Carson City for probably a dozen times last year, through a few different organizations, whether it was with RTC, the Regional Transportation Commission, or with the Mott Museum, or with the UNLV Alumni Association, or the Nevada Housing Coalition. And then I started to follow some of the bills that relates to my work experience, my expertise. So the bills I focused on were about housing, transportation, and responsible growth that protects our water and public lands. So those were the three niche that I focused on, because that relates to what I do. Some of the other bills, I don't know too much about, like healthcare, so I didn't track any bills in healthcare. And also, I'm not a lobbyist, so I don't have that privilege of have the time and resources to track everything that was going on in the legislative session, right? So I remember there was one particular bill, it was an assembly joint resolution. So it was not a normal bill, so they didn't need to go through a public hearing, and they did not go to public hearing at assembly level. It was a bill that would have urged Congress to sell off and privatize a massive amount of public lands here in Clark County. And for someone who works in the commercial real estate industry, I understand that in order for us to do responsible growth, we have to build up, we need to invest in public transportation, we need to build more housing near transit, higher density, mixed use development, walkable communities. So, because like you say, we have limited natural resources, so we have to make sure that we balance the housing, the businesses, the growth that we need, at the same time to make sure that we conserve, the water. We're planning smartly and plan for less. We have to invest smartly. So that's the way I view responsible growth. And that bill had a public hearing at the Senate level, but they only gave us 3 hours before they had the meeting. They gave us 3 hours in notification before they had the meeting. So because I tracked the bill, I got an email notification about this bill. It was 11 a.m. on a Thursday. I got a notification saying that this bill would go to a public hearing at 1 p.m. So I went to the legislature building at 1 p.m. and I waited from 1 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. in order to provide my opposition comment, because at a public hearing you have multiple bills on the agenda. So that bill that I was paying attention to was the last item on the agenda, so I had to wait that long. And then they invited the people who supported the bill to testify in support of the bill. So I watched a lot of big money influence and very powerful lobbyists supported the bill. And then it was us, the regular people, people like me who I was there not because I was a lobbyist. I was not a lobbyist. I was there because I really care about our public lands because I grew up in the southwest part of the Las Vegas Valley. That's the area that is right next to Red Rock Conservation Area. That's the area that we have a lot of outdoor enthusiasts, mountain bikers, hikers. We love our public lands. So that bill is personally like relatable to me personally. So that's why I cared and I paid attention to the bill and I showed up.
Yeah,
I showed up with the people.
Yep.
I remember you, like, I saw you in it, like, hey, Minja, and you're just like, I just stopped the bill. There's something from happening. What are you doing?
So I showed up, and there were about 10 people in that room who were just like me, and they showed up. And there were about 20 people waiting on a phone line to provide their comment, and they provided their comments. So eventually, the next day, unfortunately, that bill got passed out of the committee by every single politician on that committee. But then the following week, there was a federal bill that happened at the same time at the federal level that wanted to urge Congress to privatize even more, about 65,000 acres of public lands here in Clark County, to sell off those lands. And a lot of those lands are in areas near Blue Diamond Hills, Sloan, Mountain's Edge areas, Summerlin South area. So that bill created a lot of criticism and pushback from the general public. So eventually, we the people, because we spoke up, because we showed up, because we provided our comments, whether it's online or we contacted our representatives at the local level, the state level, and the federal level, that federal bill eventually got killed. They never made it out of committee, and because of the federal bill did not make it out of the committee, the state bill eventually just died as well. They just didn't put it on the floor at the Senate side for a vote.
So that is the power
of people coming together.
And when you talk about us regular people, we all are equal stakeholders in this city, and I think our voice is just as important as somebody who's in the legislation, right? Or somebody who owns a business. Like, we're all the same. And I think that I love that you talked about showing up. And you know, as we, you know, sum up what we talked about today, I hope you all learned today. I think I wanted to stress three things, okay? Number one is to have a long-term vision, and we need elected officials and leadership here in our city and the state to ensure that we have that long-term vision and not just thinking about the next election. Number two, we need to show up. And number three, I love this, we have to continue betting. This is how we are. We bet on against all odds here in Las Vegas. You win, you lose, but we're not here to lose. We're here to win. What do you think?
Yeah. We're not here to think small.
Yes.
Vegas is not a city that if you're here because you want to do small things, the spirit of this city doesn't match you. You know, this is a city that has a history of doing things that no other city can do. We were once known, there was an architecture book called Learning from Las Vegas. It was back in the 70s or 80s. It was about the unique architecture we had in this city of all the casino designs, like the Dunes, the Flamingo, the Desert Inn. And there was a book about learning from Las Vegas.
Wow.
For other cities to learn from us.
Yeah, so, I'm gonna put that here in our right here and to give that information, so maybe a lot of our viewers might want to learn from that book.
It's a book called Learning from Las Vegas. And another thing I would say about the spirit of the people in this town, or Las Vegas in general, is that Vegas is known to be a city that no matter where you came from, you can build something extraordinary if you go for it and you trust yourself and you have that vision and fire and grit in you to make it happen. That's what this city is about. And I think it's time for us, for Vegas, to dream big and build big again.
Yep. Yes.
And I can say, again, as a native here, you talk about putting your foot in the door for the light rail. And with this sphere, I joked about it earlier, but we are the people that live here. We're a tourist-driven city, but what about the community? And if we can actually invest in something that's not just a ball in the middle of our city, but like something that will help with our transportation, that's impactful.
Yeah, and in terms of transportation, it's not just the light rail. We also need to expand our bus transit system, where there's adding more better infrastructure, adding some shades at the bus stops, like the basic infrastructures that we need, and also add more frequency of the bus routes to make sure that the workers in this city can access to reliable and safe public transit to go to work and go to school, go to the hospital, go to the grocery store, the everyday essential needs. So that's why I'm so passionate about our public transportation system. It's not only because, oh, we have a traffic problem, but it's also because accessibility for locals, for workers, for moms that want to pick their kids up from school is a way of transportation that is cheaper than owning a vehicle, that helps it, especially in this, we talk about the cost of living a lot, or this economy, people are trying their best to save some monies to make sure that they can continue to support their family, right? So if the public sector can invest more in that public transportation system, it gives the local residents an option to choose from. If I just want to go from my house to the grocery store down the street, I can choose, do I want to drive my car, or can I take a bus, or can I bike or walk or do my scooter to the grocery store? So it's about providing different options for people to choose from. People that want to drive their car, they can continue driving their car. People that want to take the bus, we need to improve the bus system. People that want to bike, especially the kids that want to bike to go to school, we have to make sure that the streets are being designed that is safe for them to go.
Because right now,
and from school.
Yeah, because right now it's made for cars.
Yeah. The latest news I saw on Channel 3 News, they say over 300 students got hit by cars since the beginning of the school year last August.
That's horrible.
And half of those accidents are kids on bikes or scooters, or so how can we add more crosswalks in front of school? How can we upgrade our street design to make sure that people have a wider sidewalks instead of a very narrow sidewalks where we're literally walking next to a car? And how can we slow down the speed in front of the schools? How to make sure that there are good traffic signals, maybe the crosswalk signs, the lighting, maybe there's a flashy lights, at the crosswalk, because a lot of the drivers, we have to make sure that we have the infrastructures to make it safer for kids to go to school and go from school and go home.
Yeah, and thank you for that. Thank you so much for sharing about vision of the long-term vision, safety, education, workforce development, transportation, live, work, play, and everything else good in between. Yeah. So thank you so much, Minja. And anything else that you wanted to promote or share? Maybe you have an event that's coming.
Yeah, I think the last thing I would like to share is that all of the things that I've been talking about, especially the transportation, responsible growth, and housing side, I did not start to talk about these topics like yesterday. I have been talking about these topics the past few years. Every time when I go to those meetings, every time when I go to those media interviews, and it takes time to get your messages out there, to maybe change some people's mindset, how they view public transit, maybe to build those partnerships and collaboration. So it's not an overnight change that we're going to see. And it goes back to all of you who want to do something or change something, and you need to have that fire in order to be committed to do whatever you want to do in the long run. And there will be pushbacks from other folks. There will be roadblocks that you'll run into, but you need to have that fire and the vision to not be afraid and continue to go for it and to move forward, and eventually you will make it happen. So don't give up. It takes time, it takes effort, but don't give up.
Thank you for joining us in today's episode of Courageously Speaking Podcast with me, your host, Maria Soriano. Thank you, Rhea, as a co-host. And a massive thank you to Minja Yan for showing us that courage means protecting our culture, empowering communities, and creating solutions that matter, whether it's enhancing our educational system, improving transportation, or making everyday spaces reflect who we are. Again, thank you to PHLV Radio, who has graciously recorded their podcast here in Filipino Town Cultural District of Las Vegas, Nevada. To our listeners, if Minja's story inspired you, please subscribe to Courageously Speaking with Maria Soriano. Share this with someone ready to take action in their community. Visit www.couragecreatives.com for more, and remember, courage isn't about the absence of fear. It is about taking action despite it. So until next time, stay courageous.